Hi there, my name is Lucas, and today I wanted to talk to you about updating your gear and a little bit of the trouble that comes with that kind of update. I've been a filmmaker for about 7-8 years now, and my main shooter through most of the time has been the Panasonic GH series. I had the GH4 and I had the GH5, and they're very similar. I bought the GH5 once my GH4 kind of gave up on me, so everything that I had for the GH4 kind of just worked out for the GH5, the lenses, batteries, and everything else. So it was a very seamless transition. Things just kind of worked out that way, and I kept on building, buying tripod, lights, everything that will kind of accommodate that setup. That's what I was going for. And then a couple of months ago, about 4 months ago now, I decided to update from the mirrorless Panasonic camera to a Canon C200. I knew that was gonna come with a price. It would definitely improve my work and the quality of the things that I make, but it would also come with a really heavy list of equipment that I would now had to get. But I did it anyways. I bought a C200, which is what we're shooting on now. The camera body is just the brains. You need the rest. You need the right lenses, handles, monitors, lighting, microphones, and I mean literally everything. And I wanted to just share a little bit of all the things that maybe I didn't account for. If you're someone trying to update from the mirrorless world to the cinema cameras, I thought this might be a good video for you to just bear in mind some of the things that you might have to encounter for, because the camera itself can be very expensive, but something I didn't really encounter for was that I was really gonna need CFAs cards. To take full advantage of the camera, you gotta be shooting RAW and gotta be able to shoot RAW. So if you're doing bigger projects where you're doing commercials and things like that, shooting RAW is the standard. Encountering how expensive CFAS can be and how much CFAS you need. At the moment I only have 2, and I still rent out a third one when I go out and shoot. So I have 256 gigabyte, and I usually rent out another 500 whenever I go and shoot, to make sure we're not just sitting around waiting for footage to be transferred to the drives, which is another thing. I didn't realize how much more drives I would need and how much faster they had to be. I was used to shooting even 4K 10-bit on the GH5, and even though those were big files, they don't compare to what RAW does. RAW is old information. If I shoot 2-3 minutes with RAW, we're talking about 10-12 gigabytes of memory. So you really have to encounter for all that memory, all that data. And if you're in a store, I usually store all the footage that I film and things like that, and then I have backups to those footages. Doing that with RAW files becomes a very difficult task. And because you're doing bigger jobs now, making sure you don't lose those footage is even more important. So backups are more important. Hard drives have to be a little more reliable. All those things encounter to the quality of product you're selling. Another thing is lenses. Different cameras react to lenses in different ways. The lenses that I was used to using on my GH5 feels different on the C200. I had to get used to the lenses. I found out that I really need a 18-35, which I still don't have, but is something that I need to get urgently, because this camera, depending on the shoot, you need something open fast that you can just grab and go. And I'm shooting this on a 24-105, and even though it's a great lens that I've used for a lot of my career, this lens now comes with a limitation that I never felt before using the GH5. Another thing, a very annoying thing, is tripods. I've had many tripods throughout my time, very cheap ones, a little more expensive ones, but when you buy a camera that costs more than a car, a tripod can't be the 50-pound Amazon one anymore. It has to be a tripod that does the work, and you start realizing how much you need a tripod once you get to this kind of camera, because a lot of the stuff you just need a pan, and a pan can't be a handheld pan. It has to be a smooth following pan, and so you need a tripod that can pan, that can tilt, that is secure, that has multiple knobs, that has pressure, and all these things come in counter where tripods suddenly start costing a lot more. I know that a lot of these things that I'm talking about is kind of like price tags and things like that, but I did a video comparing going from the GH5 to the C200 once I got the camera. So if you want to see that video, it's gonna be up there. I thought this was something that I'm still kind of adapting to it. I've spent a lot of money kind of trying to get my equipment to match now that this production. While I had the GH5, I always try to make sure I had the right amount of batteries, make sure I had dummy batteries, make sure I had a microphone that would go well with that kind of camera, make sure my workflow kind of surrounded that camera because I used that camera for so long. And now readapting is almost starting from zero in a sense. You're going up a level, you're in the bottom part of that new level now. You're seeing other people that work with these same kind of cameras and things like that, and they have all these rigs and all these equipments that make it work so seamlessly for them, and you're trying to figure it out the best way to hold a camera still. Talking from experience, this camera can be very difficult to manage if you really don't put the hours to get comfortable with the camera, get comfortable with the footage, get comfortable with the grips, get comfortable with the extra things that you need to add to it. One of the things that I had to do was to buy a small HD monitor, which makes all the difference. Now I looked at the image, it's like I'm watching the image while I'm filming, and it gives you a completely different sense of what you're filming and why you're filming. So all these things really come into play, and then now you start using more cine lenses. I wouldn't recommend you buying cine lenses unless you have the intention of renting them out or anything like that, because every shoot you're gonna require a different type of lens. So even if you own your own cine lenses, you might not end up using them as much, or you might limit yourself to only using them, and that might become problematic. But you have to know how to work them. You have to know where to get them from. Now you're dealing with C-stands because you need things higher up. You're dealing with really big lights. I knew something like this would kind of come around, but when you're put in a position and you have to act, you think that all the experience that you had would simply translate to this new camera, and it's not as straightforward as you may think it is, because it wasn't for me, and I was very comfortable with the GH5. And you start questioning yourself, and you start doubting yourself, and that's the time you need to kind of stop and realize that it really is about learning and giving yourself time with the camera. So something that I've been doing a lot is just testing things out, trying different settings, just playing with the camera, not only using the camera for work, but using the camera as much as I can in general to make sure I'm as comfortable with the camera as I can be as fast as possible. But that's it. I've been rambling for a while now. Thank you for watching. I make videos here every Monday and Thursdays, so if you like this kind of video, hit subscribe, and I see you next week. And goodbye.